the reason that I joined DTAC was that the first thing is I feel that as a DTAC customer myself, I feel like the brand positioning is very approachable, and I feel that the brand is very friendly and also hip and fun. So I feel the brand is very connected to me. That's the first thing. And the second thing is when I had 3 rounds of interview with leaders in HR, I have a feeling that they really have a passion to do and also to make an impact. So I want to be part of that to make a difference as well. And then the third reason is that I used to visit DTAC office a couple years ago before I joined DTAC. Because at that time, we were about to move the office, and I was very impressed with all the facilities and also work environment. So that's why.
Yes, we've heard a lot about the slide coming down. 3 rounds of interview, wow. So, okay, let's start off with the questions where I think most HR officers or even company owners here today are really here to know, like, what's the structure, how do you guys do it? So let's start off this way. So I want to start off with the most simple questions. What are the biggest difficulties you guys just generally have about retaining employees?
Okay. I think that there are several factors today that make retention much more difficult and also challenging these days. Because the first reason is that there are so many job opportunities out there in the market. Plus, with all the technology, smartphone, and also social media, LinkedIn, and networking event like this, your talents can be approached very easily. And also, speaking from my own experience, even if you don't really look for a job, but you can get approached. So if you cannot retain your talents well enough, they will be with your competitors very soon. Another thing is that there are some limited talent supply in the market. So especially in expertise field like network architecture in telecom, because I'm from DTAC, and also medical affairs in pharmaceutical industry. So these are the factors that make retention much more difficult these days.
Okay, well, just to add on, it is getting more and more difficult. For CP Group, our 3 main businesses are in agriculture and food, retail, and telecommunications. One of the major jobs that is scarce are our number of engineers, and that's for every field right now in Thailand. And we find ourselves having to try to retain the engineers that we have, as well as recruit new engineers as well. And another issue that we find that we're really facing is the ability to hold on to Gen Y, millennials. And we were able to attract, but they have so many options out there, with startups and everything now. So yeah, we have to compete with startups as well, even though we're a big company.
That's a twist no one saw coming. So now turning to you guys, we'll start with Renee.
I think I would like to answer this question by talking about 2 perspectives. The first perspective would be the employees. If we ask this question, why will I stay in this company? And you can get diverse answers based on their generation. Kun Top said that there's Generation Y. Mitr Phol right now, 62% of the workforce is Gen Y. And then you still have the Generation X and baby boomers. They have diverse answers because it's a diverse workforce. It's one perspective. And the other one is a leadership mindset. If we don't change the mindset of the leadership, that how we manage the workforce should be different by how we are managed, then we're going to have some challenges with retaining employees amidst all the job opportunities out there.
Okay, for me, I have 2 levels of the problem. The difficulty in retention is come from the education structure in Thailand. So we now living in the future of work. Many young generations aim for study in new technology and leave the old technology behind. But it depends on your industry sector. I'm in construction material, so our critical position will be mining, forestry, ceramic tile, something like that. But young generation is love the sexy word like startup, digital technology, programming language. So it's gonna be hard in the future to maintain the critical position in your company, which living in the old technology, but it is the core technology to drive your performance. So this is the difficulty of retention, because if you lost your critical positions in the future, it's hard to get them back.
I think one of the questions I was actually going to ask later on, but because I think your answers were all talking about diversity and then the different generations, and because of you guys are all like industry leaders, and I really want to ask, so is it different to deal with different groups? Like, you know, do you retain Gen Y a certain way? Do you retain Gen X a certain way? We could go down to do you really retain, is there a different strategy to retain engineering compared to maybe customer service people or sales people? Like, do you guys think it's just one strategy for the whole company, or is it just you have to really go down to different strategies for different fields? You know, I can start with Kun Top first.
Okay, for diversity and retention, from my point of view, I don't like the word generations, because we just separate people by the demographic and what and when they're born. So in terms of marketing side, I used to have to change customer journey into employee journey, and so you can segment your employee into segmentations. Something like the managerial, the young talent, the high potential, or something like that. But they are mixed in the generation, and in mixed generation. So when you look into those specific segmentation, you can design HR retention system, because they have many expectations which differentiate from each other.
Right?
I think that the strategy should be the overcharging way of doing things, right? And employee segmentation, or knowing what our employees are, what is demographic, their preferences and their motivation. I think it's common among all, but the tactics should be different. Identifying the different segments or the different groups in the employee should be a strategy, but how you approach Generation X, Gen X, Gen Y, and the baby boomers should be different.
Well, for us here at CP Group, what we do is that we segment as well. But what we do is we have different programs, of course, based on each business. But what we have done differently recently is we do cross-function, cross-level. So when you say that, you know, you should separate, sometimes you should bring them together. And what that means is that you get engagement from people at the lower level to the top. I'm just going to give an example, is that what we have here is we have projects where there are, for example, 6 employees from 3 to 4 different businesses, cross-function, and you have people who have just got into work, 24, 25-year-old, working with people in their 50s. And what you do is you get mentorship, you're able to build networking and relationships, and that is actually part of creating that engagement.
For DTAC, we look at the employee profile in different aspects, like generation, also performance, potential as well. Anybody here are in Gen X?
Gen X, raise your hands.
Gen X?
Don't be ashamed.
Gen Y. So Gen Y age is around 22 to 37. Any Gen Y here?
Gen Y.
So many Gen Y.
Well,
So Gen X is 38 to 52.
Gen X,
So
38 to 52.
Okay.
Gen X here.
And baby boomer, any baby boomer is over
Any
there.
baby boomers?
Definitely.
Okay, we
so
have a couple in the crowd.
Okay. So we look at generation, and then we kind of like study from the demographic that they want different things in their life stage. For example, in Gen Y, what they want is work flexibility. So we have flexible working hours. So employees can start from 8 to 10, and have to work 8 hours from their starting time. This is for example. And for late Gen Y to early Gen X, probably or around late 30s, these are the stage that people start their family. So we have like 6-month maternity leave for women with pay, of course. And our office also have breastfeeding facilities and also kids playroom. So this is how we retain our people. And if we look at the people by their performance and potential, we have a career development program and also recognition program for those high potential people as well.
You pretty much answered my next question, which was strategies. So I'm going to move it back to this side. So I got some strategies on this side on how they really deal with different diversities and different groups. Like I would really want to know what SCG and Mitr Phol are doing in terms of strategies. Maybe for a couple of examples on how you guys deal with different generations, different diversities.
It's kind of similar to all the other companies represented here. Internally, we also have the talent management. We identified a different talent group and high potential staff, and we have a special program for them with the intention, because we want to retain those who really contribute to the company. And for the Gen Y, we have a Mitr Phol Accelerate program. We give them an opportunity to innovate. So we train them on design thinking, and we give them a space so that they can play on with their ideas and pitch in to our top executives. In fact, we've had several projects that were approved by the CEO that could be a future business of Mitr Phol. And like what I said earlier, 62% of our staff is Gen Y, and Gen Y people. I want to be Gen Y, but I'm Gen X. They're the ones who have bombarded with information, high aspiration, high ambition, and when we provide them those programs, those structured avenues, so that they can explore their potential and contribute to the company. So Mitr Phol Accelerate program is one of our good programs for the Gen Y.
So for ACG, I will walk you through our core strategy, which is designed to be for standard and to unify those diversity in our organization. We have 6 aspects in we call it ACG engagement model. First is the brand reputation. So we use a lot of activities for employees to believe that we are the great brand, and they will be our brand ambassador also. So that we have an online ambassador recruitment program that our internal employee can apply to this, and they go out in the social network and be a part of our brand ambassador. Second is, of course, we have a leadership program. We believe that in terms of supervisor, you are a real HR manager. You are on the duty to taking care of your employees. HR just watch over overall system and process, but you are the real hero for your employees. And the third aspect is collaboration. Collaboration is mean we living in matrix organization, and in the future we gonna be too complex, and many organizations have to reorganize and be more complex, believe me. So a collaboration will be the bridge between the diversity. So we design, let me give you an example, we call it Link and Learn program, which we link Generation X and Generation Y outside the workplace, and we give them the problem and solution to solve, so they can thinking together and learning together about behavior differentiations. And the fourth is career opportunities. So career opportunities not only talk about how many years you are going to be a manager, a director, a CEO, but it is an internal process that will give you a reasonable growth and benefits. And the fifth is well-being. Well-being is never changed from the starting of our company, because even you are Generation Z or Millennium, you have to take care of your health, right? So well-being is quality of work life. So we decide to establish our sport complex floor building, which have a clinic and fitness, third floor of fitness. So employee can have a part-time to, even in the lunch break, they can go to the gyms and exercise or fitness. So we believe that work-life balance is hard than work-life integration, because there is no workplace physical no more, because you can work from your notebook, you can work from your mobile. So we believe in work-life integration. And the last one is caring practice. Caring practice means that you have to take care of your employees in life. So safety is not compromisation. So even our driver have to pass our driver test. So caring practice is designed to protect your life from working with us. So this is our core engagement model. And we also have a new program for next generation. It's same like a Mitr Phol Accelerator program. We call internal startup program, because we know that many young talent are going to be the entrepreneur in the future. So we can lock them up to be next career path, like external startup. So we call it HASH program. A HASH program is allow all of our employees to join the program and do something like startup do. They learn lean startup process, they going to the customer and find a problem to solve, and then they come back and pitch to our VC. And then we select some of them which have a potential and go to the next step, and we call it walk. And then if they can scale up, so we can have a new business model. This is a concept of open innovation. So this is how NCT works now.
So the reason why I asked about strategies is because a lot of HR people really would want to know how they could adapt from what you guys do and maybe try to do something in their own companies. And so one tip, which I feel like the reason why they're here is probably to get maybe an insight on what you guys feel is like the next big tool in HR. We have top 50 surveys, we have company reviews, things that are already out there right now, and things that are really up and coming. So I would really want to know, what is your opinion of what is the next big tool which you guys are really looking into and would really think will change the landscape of HR? So we'll start with Kunal.
I will mention about two trends. Yeah, the first thing is HR analytics. Because I think most of the companies nowadays are moving away from building their own analytics solution to buying from vendors like Workday and also Oracle, SAP. So we can make use of this workforce analytics tool and then use it to anticipate the workforce trend in the future. And it could be also used for workforce planning as well. And the second trend is HR will be more automated, more digital. I won't say that it will entirely replace human being. We still need a professional HR in industry as well. But what I'm trying to say is that we as HR professionals should be equipped and also agile with all the changes that will happen. And also we should also anticipate the trend and be flexible for the change as well. Yeah.
So like more AI, more technology.
Yeah. Mobile phone, smartphone, everything.
Okay. For our company, what we do right now, which we started, is that we connect at a deeper level with universities. So what we have at the top level, the leadership level, is what we call an academic advisory board. Now, on this board, we have representatives from universities like Harvard, top universities in China, in Europe, and they help set a curriculum for HR in terms of what people are interested in, what the trends in the future will be, how are we going to move the workforce forward to meet those trends. At a different level, in terms of technology, what we're using as well is we're using pulse surveys. So before you have, once in a year, HR report. They send you a couple of pages and you fill out, and then you kind of guess. But normally, bosses, supervisors will normally remember what you really did in the past 3-4 months. So what we do is we do pulse surveys, which means that it's really quarterly research, and also feedback sessions. So we have typical 360-degree review. But what we're starting to do more is to really engage people across, people you network with, engage with as well. Yeah. So that's where we're moving towards.
And some interesting things. Yes.
With regard to tools, Kunan mentioned earlier about analytics. We are gearing towards digital HR, but not just for the sake of utilizing technology, but the trends in the next 5 years would be about using digital to dig more information, data mining tools, so that we can better and quickly know what our employees' motivations and what is the profile of our employees, so that we can predict and we can plan for some tactics in order to retain them. And that's one, the digital HR. And number two would be talent management would still be there. There was a mention earlier about the opportunities out there, and we want to retain them by utilizing them, training them, and making them contribute to the company. And in the next 5 years, the talent management process would still be in the forefront. And thirdly, leadership development. Leadership development would still be important in the next 5 years because of the changing workforce. And we need to always be on our toes to train our leaders who are the linchpin of the organization. So if we are better equipped with what's happening in HR and the field of employment, then they can better manage our people.
Yes, I just moved from HR to work with, we just announced corporate venture capital last month called Adventures by SCG, and one of my duty is to scouting for HR technology. And so I go through all of the startup in the region, and I found that HR technology is a lot of established in the past 2 years. And what interesting that I found is if you put the HR function like HR management, HR development together, and you unbundling it by technology, you will find that all of your job can outsourcing. Just give you an example like recruiting, you can use Workventure without not have an HR as a recruiter anymore. So the next big thing for tools for HR is, yes, of course, the data analytics. The data analytics is very important, and it will play the critical roles in your job because you have to predict and forecast the next employee expectation to design your service and products. But what I want to emphasize on this technology is that you must learn the technology to leverage your full potential. Because HR is the one that can talk to employees, not awkward. You can go to the desk and ask them and talk to them, interview them, give the information, and that is the experience creation that no position in the company can do. Of course, except the CEO, right? So I believe that we have to study the next technology. Data analytics is of course, because we are still using spreadsheet, right? And we go to the market and try to ask our friend that which is the good or the best system that we should imply to our company or organization. It depends on what you want and what is your objective for taking care of your employees.
Thank you for the Workventure reference as well. So my next question is pretty much the most controversial question, I think, for tonight. So I want to really ask you guys, like, is it really necessary to retain all your employees? Because I've had the chance to talk to a lot of HR people. There's some high-performing employees, and then some they will perform employees, and then So I really want to know, because there's a lot of trends where high performance employees actually end up being the ones that leave due to different situations, different circumstances. So I really want your opinion on, like, do we have to actually retain all our employees? We can start with from top.
Do you guys still want to work with your current company for retirement?
That's the question.
The first question. Yes. From my point of view, I believe that even me or even our next generation couldn't believe in lifetime employment anymore. So what we are going to focus on is, as long as they're working with us, how much they contribute to their commitment. So turnover rate is very difficult to stop. It's like you generate a next strategy and you can close it or decrease the turnover rate for 2 or 3 years. But in the next 5 years, you will find a new challenge in the workforce. So let me say that we should focus more for retention on of our employee, but focus only for the critical person, as I told you before, and then focus on how they deliver their commitment to our company.
I noticed how when you asked the crowd who wants to stay to the company for a long time and no one answered. A lot of people are probably here with their bosses, so maybe at the networking event we'll get some more answers for that.
It should be our intention to retain them if we recruit them. That's why in the recruitment process, if you have a proper recruitment process, you have to look at the potential of the employee and how they would contribute more apart that's beyond their job description. So to answer your question, yes, it's necessary, but is it possible? Right? Is it possible? Because we have limited resources. So I agree with him, I agree with Kuntop, that we have to focus on the critical position, and we have to focus on those who contribute a lot to the high potential staff. So, because if you use your resources to retain everyone, you're going to spread yourself too thinly, so it's not effective, it's not efficient, so might as well use that limited energy to retain those that we want to retain in the company.
Well, for us here, I think the first thing you have to ask yourself is, are there bottlenecks in each function of your company, in each department of your company? That's one area. Another area is, do you have programs where you identify high potential talents? If you're able to identify and you really know who they are, are you able to create a career path for them? Do they understand their career path? Because if you show them that this is where you'll be in the next 2, 5, 10 years, then they'll be able to really envision what their work life will be in the future. Now, if they don't understand where they're going to be and they're repeating their jobs and they think they're going to be repeating the jobs for the next 2, 3 years, they'll leave. Anybody will leave. But as long as, and it is your job to really show them what their career path is, I think it's great to keep high potentials. But you also have to be transparent with that person as well. That, you know what, there's still this senior executive, he will be here for a while. Maybe it's best to move, but you will always be welcome back, and we will alert you. And what you get from employees is you get that trust. And a lot of times that they will come back.
Actually, this is my favorite question because probably similar to others, that we should focus our resources by identifying critical roles or positions that make a significant impact to the business. For example, like network operation in telecom or flight scheduling system in airline industry. So focus on these key positions because it will affect business continuity and also the operation as well. and also we should also focus our resources to put on those high performers and high potential people. I just want to add one more point that low turnover rate doesn't always mean that you have a great HR practice, because the best way is to probably maintain healthy turnover rate so that we can get and bring in more people to bring in new fresh ideas, and also to create team diversity, and also to create healthy and debate discussion so that we can enhance your productivity. Yeah.
Okay. So that actually leads to my next question. You guys are making my job really easy over here. So my next question was about the turnover rate here in Thailand and its whole, maybe like comparing to Southeast Asia, it is one of the highest turnover rates, I think, in a combined recruitment industry. So as leaders in different industries, companies, from the top companies from each industries, what do you think we need to do together to really, make that number lower? You can start with Kanan.
At DTAC, I think we are lucky that our turnover rate is not very high. So we are about 12% last year versus 17% market average total industry. So we are below that market. And what we are trying to do is that we focus on two groups of our people. New employees, new joiners, and also current employees. For new joiners, we would like to make sure that we recruit the right talent with the right skill set and also the mindset to fit with our DNA, because we have just launched a digital disruptive DNA. So we make sure that we have both right skill and mindset of newcomers, and also for current employees. So what we are trying to do is we equip them with all the skills that they need so that they can cope with all the changes, because we are in telecom industry and the telecom is very disrupted. So we have to make sure that our people are equipped with all the skill sets. And in terms of mindset, we have this culture transformation program where we try to embed our people with this digital disruptive DNA so that they can survive with all the changes. So that's how we keep our turnover rate lower than the market.
Okay. Well, for us, it's I'll talk about CPL. Our CPL business operates 7-Eleven stores. We have over, let's say, nearly 10,000 stores now in Thailand. Thousands of employees in our stores, and our employees of these stores are normally even young students who come and train. But what we do at CPL is that we have training, and we also have entrepreneurship training. What that means is that if you've worked at a 7-Eleven store for 5 years and over, you have an opportunity to own your own franchise. And a lot of people who have actually worked in 7-Eleven stores, who are students, who understand the system, they've actually taken that on. And they've actually become, in Thai you call it mini taukai. So it's like mini entrepreneurs. And those are the things that we try to do, because you'll have people who work at your company who want to be entrepreneurs. And just to add from SCG as well, we also have our own entrepreneurship program, which means that people below 30 in our company, no matter where you're at, we have programs where you can join. And what that means is we will set up a business. You do everything. So you leave work entirely and you focus on that business full time. So for example, last year we created a sort of a rice and pork business, retail business, and you had 6 young professionals who left for 2 years just to work on that project. And they absolutely love it because they are their own bosses. So, you're the boss, but what happens is that along the way, You always update executives. They actually, our senior chairman, who is very committed to this program, actually gets updates every 2 weeks from this group. So you're 20 something and you're presenting a business plan, you're implementing it, you're executing it. So, and they get to run their own business. So, you know, that's another attraction, you know, another way to retain.
Mitr Phol's turnover rate is actually very low compared to the market average. We are an agriculture and manufacturing industry. We are at 5%, 6%. The market average is about, it's a low turnover rate industry. So the market average is 13%. And we look at retention not when the employees are already in, but we start from recruitment. We start from acquisition. So from acquisition to development and finally, like, you know, carrying on with their career. So we develop them. Okay? We develop the development of the employees, because each one of us would like to contribute. Each one of us would like to be part of something big. So at Mitr Phol, we focus on developing people on different levels of the employment. So we have officers, we have signature development programs for the officers, we have signature programs for the supervisors, and also for the managers and the executives. That's for all, that's for the employees. So we have that, and we also have those for the high potential. We've been talking about identifying people who have in critical position, and we have a separate program for them so that we can highlight what they can do for the company through different programs like Mitr Phol Accelerated. It's similar to CP. They're given an opportunity to play around with different business ideas, to pitch into our top executives and get approvals, and to actually make it a business for Mitr Phol. So we are very big on developing our employees.
So at ACG, we believe in value of individual, and we do this for 100 years. And that means we keep our turnover rate for 3% for 3 years in a row. So the secret behind this strong system that keep our employee into company is we give them the opportunity. We give the opportunity to them to relocate or reskill and job rotations. We have many opportunity to be a choice of employees, such as scholarship program and the new growth engine like Go Regional. So you can work with us in the other country in the regional, and then we have a digital business for a young generation. So HR is a bomb detector. So we searching around, investigate which department have a critical notice that gonna blow up. So we talk to the employees, which one do you want to relocate it based on the demand and supply. Not everyone can have what they want, but we do our best to manage the expectations of the employees. So we believe in the value of individuals, so we provide them the opportunity, the best that we can provide.
Okay, I think now the crowd is got to hear a lot of what you guys have: insights, strategies, tactics, your turnover rates, a lot of numbers. I think they're really educated, and I think now we're going to open the floor to some questions. Okay. Yes, we have one up front.
Good evening. My question is kind of a simple question, and it's just, I mean, we talked about a lot of ways to retain employees, but I mean, the most basic thing we come down to when you think about work is kind of salary and benefits. So, I mean, in terms of your companies, how do your salaries and benefits play into hiring and keeping people? For example, in the professional categories, are you benchmarking at a higher rate to industry rates or the same rate? Can you get away with lower rates because you're giving away
we definitely benchmark in comparison to companies in our industry, and we ensure that we are somehow a bit higher compared to them. But the interesting thing is, in our engagement survey, benefit is actually one of the bottom quartile, the bottom drivers of the engagement, but still our turnover rate is quite low.
At DTAC, we also benchmark with the market rate, and we make sure that we pay competitively and also attractive to also newcomers, and we also ensure internal equity as well. But compensation and benefit is probably one of the factors that keep people stay, because we also focus on leadership development as well. Because there is a saying that people join companies but leave their managers. So that's why we pay a lot of attention on leadership development as well.
Well, for us here, we of course, just like any other company, is we benchmark with at industry level, locally and internationally as well. But what we've found from our engagement surveys is that for Thai people, they actually care less about the benefits. What they're looking for is, what they're really looking for nowadays is what they're going to get in the next 2 to 4 years. So how does your company invest in that person? So we've had a lot of questions nowadays, as in, what leadership programs you have, what in terms of training, what functional training, what do you have? How am I gonna, advance, build up on my skill sets? Those are the questions that we're getting nowadays.
I found two things very interesting from exit interview and engagement survey. Apart from the salary and benefit is a performance management system, because they want to know how much they will gain the next year compared to their friends or in the same industry. So performance management will play a critical role for your salary structure, because it can control in the next 5 or 10 years for your structure. And then another thing is the value of the job. This is very depends on individually. So yes, we use many survey, many benchmark to maintain our leader in competitive for salary structures. But if we dig it down to the data that the result provide us, that so you know that there are a lot of factors. This depends on what are you deliver to your employees. It not always the money. Yes.
Thank you. Any further questions? Yes, one at the back.
Hi, I have a question. So actually the highest ranked company in the world are the company like Facebook or LinkedIn or Google, and what the employees really love in this kind of company is like the benefit that they give, like food or massage, or you can just come to work in short if you want, and flexible hours. So I would like to know how the company like yours, which is a little bit more classic, what is your strategy to adapt yourself compared to this kind of company? So it's more on the benefit side.
Okay, benefit. We also have a flexible benefit scheme. For example, employees can choose the medical care scheme that suits their needs. For example, they want to focus on OPD or IPD per visit. So this is one, and also flexible work hours, and also flexible provident fund scheme that you can choose your allocation based on your saving that you have, and also how much you would like to contribute based on your financial status at that stage, and you can change it like every month. So we are pretty flexible on that to accommodate 5,000 people.
Well, for CP Group, for employees, we don't have like, big buffets for lunch and dinner like Google or other companies. But what we do is, we're a food company. So our employees have access to our food all the time. Our employees have access to, true telecommunications, employee rates everywhere. Those are the benefits, is that they get employee benefits from the network of businesses that we have, and also from the networks of our suppliers as well. So, your employee get discounts everywhere you go. Those are, one of the benefits. Another main benefit is, of course, provident funds, things like that. So, yeah, that's really it.
Yes, as well as NCG, we are a big company, and I mean big because we cannot centralize any facilities into advanced, but we also have a free ticket for NCG Maytong United match, of course, yes. And then, yes, I think that we don't have a fancy cafeteria like Facebook or Google have. We don't have a sleeping pod like Google have it. But we trying to engage to the supervisor that you have to create a working environment as good as possible. So yes, we provide a budget for, Thai people love to what I call Papa Katin, something like that, and our Pilates. And so we have many recreations to do in the factory side, not for white collar only, but also in blue collar, which is, yes, Facebook or Google doesn't have like us.
90% of our staff are actually in the upcountry, so only 10% in the head office. And the way we design the benefit scheme is we look at what they need. So the people in our factory, they have free housing, they have free food, 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner during working days, and utilities. There is a certain cap that they don't have to pay electricity, but if you go beyond that, then you can pay through salary deduction. And we, right now, since we are expanding to more factories all over Thailand, we have an allowance called the Green Field Allowance. It means that if you're rotated to another factory that we are building, you have your allowance on top of the basic housing and meal allowance that you get. That is on top of the high medical insurance, provident fund, and gym, in-house gym. So
I have seen that too. So, any more questions? Yes, there.
Oh, and just a quick plug. Our employees get discounts for Bangkok United.
Are there any tickets available tonight?
Hi, so I work with a lot of students to help them develop their career. So I'm wondering if, this might be going off topic a bit, but I think it's important information. So if you can give advice to students these days, if they want to get prepared to join your company, what kind of skills you're looking for, and also maybe some character or mindset that you want to highlight, and give them some advice. Thank you.
So the ideal student entering your company.
Probably you. First of all, you have to know what you want to do, because I think we can feel that when we ask interview questions, that if these candidates know what they have to do, want to do, or have passion in life, and also for the skill set, this is probably depends on the role that you would like to apply for. But for for competency, we probably look for leadership, and also strategic thinking skill, analytical skill, and also your change agility, how you will be able to cope with all the change. Yeah, that will be the tips. And also for the mindset, ideally we probably look for someone who are adaptable and also be open to feedback, because that's the way you learn and develop from others as well. And also we also would like to focus on your teamwork and collaboration spirit.
For your question, I'd just like to state, does that student reflect the core values that we have? For CP Group, one of our core values is integrity and honesty. And part of that is actually being humble. I understand that a lot of people may think that CP Group is a very big company. At times people may actually think that we are arrogant. But to tell you the truth, what we look for is people who are humble, but also confident in their ability, ambitious, not too ambitious, but having the core values like that is what we really look for. And our other core values is about simplification. Going, if you're working through complex processes, are you able to simplify them? Those are the values that we look for. And one main core value for us is what we call 3 benefits principle. So it means that whatever we're going to do is always think of the country first, and then society, and then the company. And that is what we try to embed in all our employees.
At Mitr Phol, it's embedded in our evaluation, performance management, even in our recruitment evaluation. We will look for, of course, the skills and leader attributes. So we even if you're not going to get a leadership position, we look at you as a potential leader at Mitr Phol. And another important thing is our Mitr Phol culture, similar to the core values. Right now we have 5. We have excellence in everything that we do. We have to give our best and be excellent in whatever output in the company. We have care and accountability. We care for our co-workers, we care for the company, we care for the community, and we care for the country. And innovation. We want to breed new ideas and new projects that can help the company grow bigger. And we have, I'm trying to remember, excellence, innovation, care, accountability, integrity. Being in a big company, this is quite a challenge. That's why we have a big push on integrity in all parts of our organization. And then we have, what is the other one? I'm trying to remember. In excellence, in integrity, care and accountability, innovation, and I have my coworkers here. Trustworthiness. Yeah, trustworthiness. Thank you very much. Trustworthiness. So, yeah.
When we set up the interview panel, we based on 3 criteria: will do, can do, and will fit. It's reflect on competency based, depends on job position that your student apply. So can I reflect as a teacher, you playing a very important role to help them seek their passions. So because as an enterprise, we already have a very static R&R job description, competency-based interview. So this is what I told you before, that we believe in value of individuals. So yes, please fire yourself before going to interview, because you will do it better. Yes.
I think we could have time for one more question. Yes.
Hi. I think talking about employee retention, we are talking about the top 15-20% that is high potential. Because those are the people who normally will leave you, you will get better jobs. And then there is a small percentage at the bottom, which is, like 4 or 5%, which doesn't really, neither high potential nor no potential, or how do you define them? They are indisciplined or responsible. I think all organizations face that. And most of these people actually are from the middle, where they spend a lot of time with you, they cannot go in and they fall to the bottom. I would like to understand, do you have any, while we talk about employee retention, do you have any policies to take care of this bottom 5%, which normally become opinion leaders after being in the organization for so many years, and with the kind of labor laws that we have in the country? So, what do you do with this bottom 5?
So if I understand your question correctly, what as a company, what do we do with those people who don't perform? Am I correct? Like in the
Sort of.
bottom
Sort
right?
of.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
The ones that have been there for a long time and they slowly slide down to maybe the bottom 5%.
Well, we have an existing performance management. So every year there is that evaluation and the rating of their, of their job. As far as I know, what we do is we coach them. Okay, we coach them. We don't dismiss them right away. Dismiss the idea that maybe they don't have to work for the company, because we always believe that there has to be a reason why the performance has declined. We look for that reason through coaching. That's how we coach our leaders to do the coaching, so that they would find out what's wrong, so that we can help them develop. And I have seen several people who have, and usually they're the ones who are in the retirement, and they have helped the company, and even in their own ways, we believe that they can help. So we take them in, and still they're part of the system.
I quite agree with performance coaching, because one of the cause to this problem, because supervisor doesn't care the employees who are working below their potential. So what we encourage the supervisor to do is to frequently coaching them with a target of KPI. So when I talk to the employee that for bottom 5%, I found many people don't have a coaching, and they be a free rider, or they do for a long time. But when we reskill them, they can highly perform after we coach them or do something with them. Yes.
What we have at our companies is that we have 360-degree reviews. That means your supervisor, your colleagues, your subordinates, and when that occurs, what you get is you get pain points. You get to understand what the pain points are for that employee. Are they frustrated about their job? Which area of their job they're frustrated about? Do they want to move to a different department? Do they want to try something new? And if you're identified in the bottom 5%, we will try to understand what your pain points are. Because if you continue to underperform, then it's not good for both the employee and the company. So we try to understand their pain points.
Okay. At DTAC, we have a performance management system, which is probably similar to other companies here. And before they get they are 5% below expectation or below performance rating, we would like to encourage our line managers to provide ongoing coaching and feedback, so that employees know what and how they should improve along the way before a year-end performance review. And after performance review, we also have calibration session to make sure that the performance ratings are fair and consistent across business groups or divisions. And if still employees still cannot improve, then we probably have to have discussion with each of them on what's going on or their motivation to understand them better.
Okay. So I think for before ending, we're just gonna do, I wanna do one key takeaway from each of you, just maybe one thing you would, if an HR officer or an HR manager or a CEO walks up to you right now, one thing you would tell them to do in regards to employee retention. Like just one quick zinger, like one line, one quick quote, or like an advice you would give to an HR officer or whoever comes up to you. Start with Nick, since I have you on the mic right now.
Okay, one takeaway. It's really, if you cascade down, if you're the CEO, you go down to vice presidents, vice presidents, general managers, supervisors, down to the bottom. If you ask the person right below you, can they tell you what their employees are like? Can they tell you if your employees are happy? Can they tell you if we have a new generation of leaders coming up? Because if you can't ask that simple question, then there's a problem with your human resource. There's a problem with the entire system in your company. So that's my takeaway.
Regarding retention, key takeaway would be you have to look at the retention process as a holistic approach to your HR practice, starting from attracting the right talent so that you won't lose them in the future. And also, once you get your people in, how you develop, engage, and also retain them. Yeah.
In the next future, you're gonna have a lot of high technology approach, but please do not forget, even you are HR or not, the high touch. You have to talk to your employee a lot to find what their expectations.
Amidst all the information that's accessible about the trends, about the tools in the next 5 years or so, it's okay to educate yourself as HR professionals, but always understand your people. Look at your people and then integrate what you have learned and what actually works for them.
I'd like to thank all of you today. I think we've learned a lot about HR. We've got insights about industry leaders. We've got how to do, how to work. We even got how many 7-Elevens there are in Thailand right now. So we've got a lot of good numbers, and I think.
I'd now like to invite the Executive Director of Workventure, Alex Corbo, to the stage to present our panelists with a small gift. Okay, Alex doesn't seem to be here. Could we have the CEO of Workventure, Jens Phol, to the stage instead? Can you come down stage?
Thank you. One, two, three. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. This camera. 1, 2, 3. All right. Yeah, one. Can we move to this side, please? All right, 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2. All right, thank you.
students, especially our sponsor, Rembrandt Hotel. So, May, what are we going to do now?
So now it's time for the networking. We have food and drink at the back of the hall, so please stick around and enjoy it. If you have any interest in talking to ourselves or our partner companies, don't hesitate to come up to us and talk to us.
Okay, let's go. All right.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you at the next video.
Thank you.